All right, here I am at the US 131 railroad crossing in Schoolcraft, Michigan. Now this railroad crossing is pretty much the central railroad crossing here in this little town of Schoolcraft, owned by the CN South Bend subdivision, which is what the CN Flint subdivision turns into once you pass Battle Creek. And this crossing right here in particular features, I would say, a few classic elements and some, you know, remnants from the past and some modernization per se. And I figured I'd tour it because I got in action in a handful of times while me and the boys were visiting Schoolcraft, a rail fan today, in hopes of also catching grand elk, but sadly that does not look like it was happening today, so I only toured one crossing. But we will come back here eventually to try and get grand elk again, and I will tour more crossings from there. But mostly today I wanted to get a handful of South Bend crossings toured for you guys. So like I said, this crossing features some pretty neat stuff and you know, a little bit of history that I kind of know. So with that said, I'll explain as I go on, so let's get to it. So for the first signal, this has a WRS cantilever. And here's the emergency information, and the dot tag, and the dot number is 283458G. And yeah, and for the gate mechanism, which is separate from the cantilever, obviously, this has a Siemens gate mechanism with the stamped logo. And the gate lights feature some Ricoh LED gate lights and a wind guard for the this little separate mast, which is just a WRS base, in which I assume, actually, my bad. So I assumed that this railroad crossing right here used to have WRS or GRS type D gate mechanisms in the past. So this is a Siemens stamped logo sitting on a WRS base. As I said, with the gate lights are Ricoh LED. And for the mast lights, this has two pairs of Safetran 12x24-inch GE uniform LEDs, all sitting on a Safetran light bracket. But yeah. And for the overhead lights, which is kind of the surprising part, this has two pairs of Hawker and Safetran 12x24-inch incandescent lights, all sitting on a Safetran light bracket as well, I believe. Oh no, it's actually a WRS light bracket. Really neat to still see incandescent lights here. You don't usually see those anymore, especially on CN. So it's kind of cool that these particular incandescents were spared. And for a bell on this one, this has a General Signals Type 2 electronic bell set on medium to high volume. Well, maybe it was set to high volume, but over the time, as the bell got older, it got quieter. So I assumed that this bell might be replaced sometime in the future. So yeah, that was the first signal. Pretty cool WRS cantilever, kind of similar to what I see on State Road in Davison. And if you look below, you can see a Federal Signal badge. So you can see this is pretty much a Federal Signal / WRS cantilever, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that was the first signal. Now I'm gonna go out across the road. As you can see right now, US 131 and around this area is undergoing a lot of construction. So it's only narrowed down to a one-lane, one-way road, which is kind of a pain because you gotta drive an entire block in order to go from crossing to crossing, like checking Grand Elk and CN. But oh well, hopefully it'll be finished eventually. So yeah, that's the first signal. So here is the second signal, which is similar to the first. So yeah, for the second signal, like I said, it's similar to the first. So this has another WRS cantilever, I guess with another Federal Signal badge, which has been painted over. And here's the emergency information once again. And for the gate mechanism, this has another Siemens gate mechanism with the stamped logo, sitting on a WRS base and mast. And the gate features some more Ricoh LED gate lights and a wind guard on this mast. The separate mast, to be precise. And for the mast lights, this has two pairs of Safetran 12x24-inch dialight LEDs, as you can see, all sitting on a Safetran light bracket. Now, I assume that these used to be incandescent in the past, just like the GE uniforms over there used to be or replace incandescent lights in the past. And speaking of which, the overhead lights on this signal are two pairs of Safetran 12x24-inch incandescent lights, all sitting on a WRS light bracket. Once again, if I could get over here and show y'all. It's pretty trenchy, so I might, here, let me just hop over. There we go. Yep, sitting on a WRS light bracket. Oh no, I am so sorry, construction people. I got your white curb dirty. But yeah, and for the bell on this one, this has another General Signals Type 2 electronic bell, which is dead. Yep, this bell right here is dead. I heard this crossing in action, and that bell's getting quiet, and this one's dead. But I looked at other videos in the past, and this bell is another General Signals Type 2 E bell. All right, so a few more things worth mentioning about this crossing, in which I got to remind myself to edit in before I get to the track views and stuff. So a few other things that I want to mention about this crossing, which I find pretty odd. So first of all, this crossing right here, as you can see, has really high crossbucks. And also the gate drop on this crossing is really, really slow. Like both of these gates drop down really, really slow. And yeah, and this crossing right here also has a very, very short island circuit. Like as soon as the train wheels hit like right there, the crossing deactivates. And second of all, the crossing has crisscross flashers, but on the individual pairs of lights on the cantilevers, like the top lights would start flashing from the left while the mast lights would start flashing from the right. It's quite interesting how that works. Maybe it's because they had to wire it in a certain way, or they did it backwards when they were installing the new mast lights, but that's just one thing I noticed. You know, a couple of odd flaws with this crossing. It's definitely been used up ever since then, but, you know, that's just one thing I know, a few things I noticed. But anyways, back to the tour and onto the track views. So yeah, I guess all that said, this was the equipment here for US 131. Here's the relay case, which is sitting at milepost 146.52, and this road right here is also called Grand Street, but it's really just called US 131. So yeah, I guess that said, let's go to take a look at the track view. Down there is heading west towards more crossings, eventually at I believe this is at like 10th Street. Yep, 10th Street, and you can see an automatic Y pattern signal way down there. Kind of cool how there's actually Y patterns on the west side of this line. It's really cool. And down there is heading east towards the curve, right towards the Schoolcraft Diamond, where this line crosses over with the GDLK Railroad. And you can see we currently have a train line, which is CN E280, but we're gonna catch that in a little bit later. And this is eventually heading towards more crossings, such as 16th Street, and so far and beyond, so on and so forth, and eventually heading towards the Vicksburg area. So yeah, I guess all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and stand over here. Like I said, it is very treacherous over here right now. So this was the US 131 railroad crossing here in Schoolcraft, Michigan. Pretty neat stuff. Like I said, I am eventually coming back over here to get more videos, hopefully to catch GDLK eventually. But I guess with that said, for now, over and out.